All right, howdy. Howdy. You know, when I was told that I was going to be able to do this TEDxTAMU, I was so excited. I said, wow, this is global. This is big. TEDx. Ideas worth spreading. The whole world is going to know about it. What am I going to talk about? What am I going to tell people? And then they said, hold on, we do have a theme. I said, okay, cool. What's the theme? They said, the theme is meliorism. And I said, cool. What the heck is meliorism? And then I Googled it, and luckily, Google knew how to spell it. It's, I didn't know. Metaphysical thinking, that progress is a real concept leading to an improvement of the world. Okay, sounds philosophical. So I went to one of my philosophy colleagues and I asked him, I played it off like I knew what I was talking about, right? I said, so, Dr. So-and-so, what's your take on meliorism? And he said, never heard of it. Great. So I did what I do every time I'm left to my own devices. You know, I became an engineer and I broke things down. All right, metaphysical thinking. Metaphysical is a highly abstract or abstruse thing, difficult to comprehend and pronounce, seriously. Progress, onward or forward movement toward a destination. Well, yeah, progress. Who doesn't want progress for the world, right? Everybody wants the world to be better. I mean, there's some people who don't want the world to be better. They want it destroyed, but those people are wacky and they're not important. Those people just need help. But if you walk into a classroom, a first grade classroom, and you say, how many of you want to change the world? They're all going to go, me! They don't even know what that means. They just think you got cookies. Seriously, I mean, who doesn't want to change the world? The world that's what we are here, the world. And I'm walking around thinking, the world, what's the world? Actually, what is the world? And Siri answered, because she's always listening. She's like a nosy neighbor. She said, the world is the earth, together with all of its countries, peoples, and natural features. And I thought, yikes! I have to talk to you about improving all of that? How the heck am I going to do that, right? And maybe I'll think of, okay, the world, the earth, natural features, all of the, what am I, the countries? Maybe I'll talk about how to prevent floods or tsunamis or earthquakes. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm not that smart. There's smarter people doing that. I'll work on people. I know, that's what I'll do. I'll make people better. I know, I'll invent an app that will shock a person every time they act like an ass. Right? And they'll be nicer, because the shocks will get worse with every asinine thing they do. It'll be great. You know what I mean? Somebody's being rude to you, you're talking to somebody, and they start looking at their phone. You just... Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Oh, that's a big one. Or they take your parking spot. Forget about it. Ah, right? I think in 2 weeks, everybody's going to look just like that. But then I had a thought, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to write the algorithm for this app, which means I'm going to have to decide what is shockworthy and what is not. What is right and what is wrong? What is rude and what is not rude? What's the right thing to think? What's the right thing to do? I don't know about that. But isn't that what's going on right now in the world? People telling me all the time, everywhere, what to think, what to do, how to do it, where to march, where not to march, what to take down, what to put up. I don't want that. That's when I realized exactly what I want to tell you about meliorism. It's poo-poo caca. Because by focusing out there all the time and making and thinking and making the world better, we are not spending enough time thinking and focusing on the world that needs to get better, which is the one in here. You know, I grew up in Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, when I was a child, nobody asked me ever if I wanted to make the world a better place. Nobody. The question itself implies that the world is not good, and my world was perfect. Are you kidding? Check me out. I was a cutie pie. Yeah, look at me. I mean, I had an attitude when I was very, very young, but then, you know, as a young woman, I graduated kindergarten and I became a lady. But my world was perfect. I had no questions and no problems with the world. My family was amazing. We spent all this time together. Right there on the upper left, you see my father and two uncles. I don't know what we were fishing for. I don't know if that's crawfish or it's even edible, but we were out there. And, you know, it was great. My dad worked for IBM. The uncle on your left there is a doctor, and the one that looks very confused is an attorney, of course. And you see me there in the middle between my dad and my uncle. I was always in the middle. I was always in there. I wanted to share with my dad. I wanted to take all the risks. I wanted to do all of the things that were really out there. It was fun. That was the kind of world I grew up in. Bottom photo you see, that's how I spent all my summers. That's in a little island off the east coast of Puerto Rico. It's called Culebra. It's an absolute paradise. I mean, we didn't even know we were in paradise, but we were there. And what I remember about that photo is that we posed for that. We actually all showered that day and wore our best. See, we had no shoes. Nobody wore shoes ever. It was fantastic. I mean, we didn't have power, but we did have running water. The same kind of running water Zig Ziglar talks about, you know, the one you got to run and get. We had that. So we all showered for that, and I remember that photo. And then on the upper right-hand side there, you see my family, my immediate family, my dad, my mom, my sisters, my brother. That's the day that we left Puerto Rico to move to Houston, Texas. We wanted to blend in, so, you know, we just wore what we knew. We saw it in the movies. We'd seen movies about Texas. We go to the frontier, we got to wear this stuff, you know what I'm talking about? We got some funny looks at the airport. But when we got to Houston, we kind of looked like the people. My parents were great. My mother taught me about beauty and humor. She was a beautiful woman that, you know, cared about being beautiful, but also cared about being fun and not taking herself very seriously. She took duty very seriously. She taught me, you have to go to school, you have to get an education, you have to behave in a certain way, and all of these things. She did do that. But when it came to just taking herself seriously, not really. And as she got older, as you can see, she really let go of that. That's her with a French fry in her nose. I mean, do you have a picture of your mother with a French fry in her nose? I think you need to ask her to do that and see what she says. My dad was amazing. My dad was all about doing crazy stuff, taking a risk, stepping outside of the box. Do not do what everybody else does. He loved airplanes. He loved fixing things. I think that's why I went into aerospace engineering. My dad, that's him right there. That's a DC-3, 1925. He is on the propeller of that DC-3. That is at Isla Grande Airport in Puerto Rico. That's an airport. My dad is on the propeller of a DC-3. And I'm thinking, who the heck took that picture? You know who? His father. His father said, you climb up there, you get up there, I'll take a picture of you, you'll come right back down. And that's how my dad grew up, and that's what he did for us too. He was always so happy to do something new, always caring about the people around them and making sure that he brought his best to everything. He always told me, he didn't tell me what I needed to do. Never. My dad never said, this is what you have to do. But my dad did say, you can do and be anything you can imagine. He said, you're the genie. And I thought about that. I thought about that because throughout the ages, all of the sages in history that changed the world, that transformed humanity and left great messages. None of them did it by going out there into the world to find answers. They all did it by going within to find the truth. What truth, you say? Well, the truth that sets you free. The truth that is really at the bottom of all philosophy, beauty, science, everything. And to me, it's very simple. It's as simple as ABC. Awareness begins change. Awareness of what? Awareness of your prejudices, awareness of your limiting beliefs, awareness of your intolerances, awareness of what you think is possible and not. All of these things that we believe, all of these limiting beliefs we possess, we got through our conditioning. We didn't come here with them. They were given to us. We learned them. I understand that. But they're held in place by our lack of self-reflection. Self-reflection is the only way and the only path toward growth and possibility. That's how we do it. Awareness begins change. All of the great people in history did it. They used imagination. Einstein used it to create his thought experiments and think about physics. Martin Luther King talked about having a dream. That's in an imagination. Jesus talked about, ask and you shall receive, seek you shall find. All of those things happen in your imagination. Gandhi imagined what he could do for his country. Mother Teresa imagined what it looks like, a world that would look like, with more compassion, one person at a time. Buddha wanted to understand about human suffering. Why must we suffer? And after really, really looking at it, he found that, pain is necessary, but suffering is optional. It's our choice. It's how we choose to see the things and the circumstances that we're in, how we're choosing to see what's out there. How are you choosing to see your life? How are you choosing to see the world? That really will affect you and everybody else. But do you think I only speak of these people who are amazing? No, I don't. I'm talking about you, and I'm talking about me. You have to go into your own story and find the evidence that they found, the evidence that imagination is unlimited, that is the only thing that changes the world. It's an amazing power. If you can imagine it, you can do it. You can be it. Find those stories. I met a young man a couple of years ago, and he told me how the day he got out of prison, they put him in a bus, and that bus took him to downtown Dallas. Now he got there, and he was all wrinkled and no money, didn't smell good, didn't look very good. He needed to call his mother. He said, my mom didn't know I was free. I needed to tell her to come get me. And he got out of the bus, and he could see across the street there was a community college and a student center. And he looked in there, and he saw young people just like him going in and out of the place. And he thought, well, maybe I can go in there, and they'll let me use the phone. But then he thought, no, I look, like they'll probably call the cops on me or something like that. So he thought about it for a while until he mustered the power to just walk in there and say, can I use your phone? And the young woman and the front desk said, well, I can't let you use my phone here, but I know that if you go into that office, there's a phone there that you can use. That woman knew what she was doing, because inside of that office, there was a faculty advisor that everybody loved. And when he walked into that office and the faculty advisor stood up and said, hey, the young man wasn't sure. But he invited him in, and he sat down, and they talked for a while. And tell me about it. He said, well, I just got out of prison, and I need to talk to my mother. And said, well, tell me more. What's going on? And they shared stories for a while. They became a community. They talked to each other. That's what we're supposed to do. Now, this faculty advisor finally let the young man use the phone, but not before he talked to him about getting his education. Thinking about it. You belong here just like everybody else. You may not look like them right now, but you are just as worthy as anybody else to do this. This young man came from a different country. He had no reason to believe he could do this. His family was not educated. Years later, when I met him, he told me, what that man did for me that day was he helped me imagine myself an educated man. I had never considered that. He put it in my mind. And I went to town with that. It was a song stuck in my head. I couldn't stop it. Man, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can. And then this faculty advisor also said, if you want to do it, you can start right here. I'll help you. When I met him, he was a PhD. He hadn't just gone back to get his technical degree. He went on to get his bachelor's degree, and then his master's degree, and his PhD. And he said, I got so good at imagining, I started selling it to my family. In fact, my mother next year is graduating with her master's degree. That's how you change the world. That's the important part. Every time there's two humans coming together, in any human interaction, there is something left behind. Always. Are you leaving something behind on purpose, or are you just leaving something behind? Pay attention. Do it on purpose. Imagine for yourself, imagine for the world, and imagine for other people the best that you can on purpose. Find the magic in your life. You will see it. I thought about it. It's like, imagination. I can really imagine. And then I remember my dad saying, you're the genie. And I got it. I'm like, okay, I am the genie. So imagination simply means I'm the genie in creation. I'm the one doing it. I'm the one rubbing the lamp. I'm the one thinking, can I do it or not? Are you rubbing your lamp with possibility and the joy and happiness and we can get this done? Or are you rubbing your lamp with fear and, you're not sure and prejudice? Because your genie doesn't care. He does not care. What you're wishing for, he's going to give it to you. Whatever that is. So imagine on purpose and find evidence in your own life. I do every day. I have it all the time. When I started doing stand-up comedy in 1993, by 1995, I had a decision to make. It's a very important decision. I was either going to go on the road or I had to quit comedy because you don't get good as a comedian if you don't go on the road, right? So the problem was I had a young family, a couple of children, very young. They didn't want to see mom go, for 2 weeks at a time sometimes. And I was also risking my own life. I was going to go back in 95. There's no internet. There was no cell phone. I had a pager and a sack of quarters. And I had to find a payphone every once in a while if I wanted to call home. But I decided to do it. And I remember the first time I left. I remember backing down my driveway, waiting till my children were in bed, and I backing down my driveway and looked in the rearview mirror and I adjusted it, and in that moment, for some reason, I wasn't backing down my driveway to leave. I saw myself actually getting home. I was looking in the rearview mirror as I was arriving home safely. And I did that every time. And every time it worked. And I was safe. And I've done that for so many other things in my life. Whenever you're going to do something new, I went to the end. I can do this. 3 years ago, I had a mammogram, and they told me that they found a mass. Now, I don't know what the problem is with mammograms. 20 years ago, the technology was still the same. Women are still being, men don't have to put up with this. Seriously, if you guys had to do something like a mammogram, you would not go. You would tell the doctor, you know what, doc, I've had a good life. I'd rather die. But I'm sitting there, and they're about to tell me about my biopsy, and I'm sitting in this room, and, the doctor walks in very somber, and the nurse, and they say, well, we found a mass, and it's cancerous. We're going to have to do treatment. And in that moment, for some reason, I'm looking in the rearview mirror and I'm seeing myself in another room being told by another doctor that I was going to be okay and cancer-free. For some reason, I don't know. They thought I was going to cry, but I said, okay, well, what do we have to do next? 2 years ago, I found myself in a oncologist's office waiting for him to come in as a follow-up treatment. I'm cancer-free and happy, right? And I'm looking around the room, and I remember, my gosh, I remember that moment where I looked in the rearview mirror. I said, I saw this moment. I was here, safe and cancer-free. Thank you, Shayla May, for imagining that. And I'm looking around the room, and I saw this thing. You've seen these, right? In a doctor's office? Cross-section of a brain. All of the stuff, all the weird stuff in there. You saw that. You saw a brain, but I didn't. I saw my genie. It just popped right out. I saw it right there, laying on the center of my being, right there. I see the halo. I see the hair, the puffy sleeve of his tunic and the cloak all around my brain. I don't know if you see it, but that's what I saw, and I started crying. I saw my Genie. It was with me the whole time, with my faith. I started crying. I'm taking a picture of the thing. The doctor walks in, and he goes, "It's okay, you're cancer-free. What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh, my Genie." He's like, "No, that's scary. I'll take it out." I'm like, "No, it's okay." He thought I was going into mental health problems. But the point is that you have the Genie inside of you. You're the one using your imagination to create the world. You want to create a better world out there? Then begin by creating a better world in here. Use your imagination on purpose. Thank you very much.